I love you, Cleveland, and I love you, Ohio, and a very pleasant welcome to this week's version of Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. Hi, I'm Bruce Drennan, along with my producer, Ryan Smith. Great to have you aboard as we have so much to cover in today's show. Ryan, how are you doing on this gorgeous summer day?
I'm doing very well, Bruce. It's always good to remind Ohio who the better baseball team is. So anytime we get a chance to do that, it's always a glorious day.
Well, it is, and that's a perfect segue to what the lead story should be, and that is the Cleveland Guardians coming off another victory, opening up a brief two-game series against the Cincinnati Reds as Stephen Kwan notched his 9th 3+ hit game of the season, had a single and 2 doubles. He has a 7-game hitting streak going, but he's gotten a hit in each of the 7 games that he's played in since he returned from the injured list. That's a .520 batting average, going 13 of 25. Incredible. 5 RBIs, 10 runs scored since then. And because of missing a month due to the hamstring injury, he doesn't qualify for the batting title right now because he doesn't have enough at bats, but that's soon he'll catch up. And his .380 batting average right now, that's for the whole season, is by far, that's 40 percentage points higher than the next leading hitter in the American League. It's absolutely incredible. And indeed, Kwan with two runs, the RBI double in the 3rd inning gave the Guardians the lead that they would not relinquish and enabled them to win this game. What a ball player he is, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a potential extension candidate. He's deserving every penny of this, hopefully, Cleveland extension that he's going to get. I mean, he's been absolutely incredible. Even, like you said, not missing a beat coming off of a hamstring injury. He's every single time igniting these Cleveland runs, and it's really, truly incredible to see. You know, I don't know the last time I saw a player hit this consistently where their over-under is 1.5 hits. He's consistently getting a hit, like you said, more one-hit games than games without a hit. That's just absolutely incredible.
Per game, 1.5 over/under. Think of that.
That's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. And indeed, he's so tough to strike out, he's got a lot of Ichiro in him. He just finds a way to get some lumber on the ball to stay alive in the count. And then when he gets his pitch, he takes advantage of it. Tristan McKenzie went 5 1/3 innings, giving up 2 runs on 4 hits, walking 2, striking out 4. He turned the game over to the pen in the 6th inning with the Guards up 3-2 at the time. Then the number 1 bullpen in the major leagues took over and shut down the Reds for the Guardians' 42nd win of the year. Heron, Henches, Smith combined for 2 2/3 innings of shutout, no hit relief. Amazing. Class A gave up a run closing out the 9th inning, but recorded his 20th save of the year. And only Ryan Helsley of the St. Louis Cardinals has more with 21. Josh Naylor hit a 17th homer, added 3 RBIs to give him 50 on the year. This bullpen, we've got to talk a little bit about this bullpen. Right now, it is a top bullpen in the major leagues. Bullpens are fickle. They go from year to year, it seems, but this year, this bullpen is clicking. These guys are just picking up one another tremendously, and right now, Vogt and Willis only have to get the game into the 5th, 6th inning and let this pen take over, and that's really been the trend.
Yeah, and it's been absolutely crucial, as we know. Guardian starters this year, I think the average is around 5 2/3 innings right now. We're not going deep, but it's fine because our bullpen has been so dominant. I mean, just yesterday, for example, Tim Heron with an absolute insanely clutch punch out to get us out of a jam. Sam Henches over 2 innings was phenomenal. And then once you get to Class A, I mean, put a bow on that thing. It's all over.
Yeah. Guards improved their road record to 22-14. That's the 4th best road record winning percentage in the major leagues. Only the New York Yankees, Baltimore Orioles, and Philadelphia Phillies are slightly better. Tanner Bybee versus Nick Lodolo tonight in the concluding game of the brief 2-game series. Bybee is 4-1 with a 3.73 ERA, 76 strikeouts in 70 innings. That's real good. 1.19 whip. That's walks and hits per innings pitched. That's tremendous. Guards are off tomorrow and then host Seattle for 3 over the weekend. And then Toronto for 3 starting on Monday before hitting the road again. And get this, after this upcoming homestand, we go to Baltimore and Kansas City in what should be a very, very interesting road trip to complete the month of June. That will really be telling for us. And with this kind of momentum, I can hardly wait. We have a 43-22 record. That is the best in the Central Division by 5.5 games over Kansas City. Minnesota's back by 9 now. And Detroit 11.5. White Sox bringing up the rear with a 17-51 record. That's by far the worst record of any team in the major leagues. The AL East, the Yankees have the 48-21 record, second best in the entire major leagues. They have a 2.5 game lead on Baltimore, who has the third best record in the major leagues. The Western Division finds Seattle up over 500 by 9 games. That's good for a 6.5 game lead on Texas and 7.5 on Houston. Houston just keeps getting more and more injured, it seems, and that's really literally crippling them. National League East has Philadelphia 46-20. That's the best record in the entire major leagues. Boy, are they playing great ball. Atlanta, Ryan, is 10 games out.
I guess maybe that's what you do when you lose Ronald Acuna, but you go back to the fact that they did win a World Series without him. So I don't really know what's going on there, but they've been an injury bug team as well. They lost Spencer Strider early, but I expect them to get back on the right track. But I mean, it's hard to when you lose arguably 2 of your best 3-4 players.
Yeah, Fried got beat last night, and he was pitching really well for him. National League Central, Milwaukee 39-28. That's good for a 6.5 game lead on Pittsburgh. 7 on Cincinnati, the Cubs, and St. Louis. So all those 4 teams are bunched together, but Milwaukee right now has got a comfortable lead. And the Dodgers are coasting in the West, 42-26. That's the 5th best record in the major leagues, as they are 7.5 games out. Before I get to the NBA Finals, what are we down to, like 2 guys or so? The field is narrowing for the Cavs coach, Ryan?
Yeah, it's been reported that the 2 finalists, if you will, are James Borrego and Kenny Atkinson. Now, we might have already had this hiring. However, the fact is that it was reported earlier last week, or this week, I should say, was the potential of Dan Hurley leaving UConn to go to LA. Now, the fact that that fell through and Dan Hurley's going back to UConn, well, now the Lakers might consider Borrego. And I'm not quite sure if Borrego would look at that job and consider it a better job than Cleveland. I certainly wouldn't, but you can't discount the appeal that it is Los Angeles, and you can potentially be coaching LeBron James. So we're yet to see that ball fall, but it seems as though the reporting is it's between James Borrego and Kenny Atkinson.
Now, is that going to be significantly better than what JB was?
Now that, Bruce, I cannot answer. Only time will tell.
You know my point if you watch our show. You could bring back Red Auerbach, Pat Riley, and Phil Jackson and roll them into one. Unless you change this roster, the coach isn't going to just automatically make this team good enough to win the Eastern Conference.
I totally agree with you, Bruce.
It's common sense. And if you make trades, okay, Garland and Allen are rumored to be traded or trade bait. What, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul in the NBA. They don't have the draft picks to improve through that route. I don't get it. I don't get it. All right, tonight is game 3. It's do or die for Dallas. They're down 2-0. By the way, a little bit of history for you before we get into Dallas's slim chances of winning, but a little bit of history. Teams leading 2-0 in the NBA Finals have gone on to win the championship 31 of 36 times in NBA history. And by the way, the 5 times the teams that pulled off the comeback, they are the 5 teams. The 1969 Boston Celtics with Bill Russell and John Havlicek came back against the Jerry West-led L.A. Lakers. The 1977 Portland Trail Blazers, after sweeping the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. The Blazers overcame a 2-game-to-none deficit with recently deceased Bill Walton leading the way to beat Philadelphia, who featured Dr. Julius Erving and Doug Collins. The 2006 Miami Heat with Dirk Nowitzki for Dallas, and they took a 2-game-to-none lead, but then saw Dwayne Wade and the Heat stage the comeback for Wade's first of what would be 3 championships. Next were our Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes, sir.
2016, Golden State had set an NBA regular season record with 73 wins that year, but LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love mounted the historic comeback to give Cleveland its first and only title. We actually trailed 3-1 in that series and still came back. And then finally, the 2021 Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis came back to win against Phoenix. However, I don't see it happening this year, even with Porzingis out tonight and maybe out for the rest of the series with that bad leg. I don't see it. I think Kyrie will have a better game tonight. He better, or they're going to get swept. If they lose tonight, I think they'll get swept. But he better, because he really didn't show up, Ryan, in those first 2.
No, he really hasn't at all. In fact, probably 2 of his worst performances, if not the 2 worst performances thus far in the postseason. That is really what it comes down to. As good as Luka is, and he's a little bit injured, he can only do so much. The Celtics have just proven throughout this series they're so much deeper. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis in Game 1 was MVP. Drew Holiday in Game 2 was absolutely incredible. And we're yet to see an explosion out of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and we still sit here today and they're up 2-0. And I think that's just the tale of this series.
Yeah, I just think that Boston, they were destined to be this year. I mean, they had the best record overall in the NBA for a reason. They ran away with the Eastern Conference. They really coasted through the playoffs and really showed that they were legit and true champions. And now, and let's remember this too, Dallas was the number 5 seed over there in the West. They were the 5 seed. They weren't supposed to be here, period. So I give them a lot of credit for accomplishing what they did in winning the very balanced Western Conference, but they weren't even supposed to be here. And I kind of thought, especially in Boston, that Kyrie would show up more than he did, because that's his former team. You would think he'd be motivated to really get those fans to boo him because of that stint, that disappointing stint that he had in Boston.
Yeah, I mean, the boos were echoing throughout that stadium, and Kyrie Irving certainly heard it. And I don't know if that affected his game. You would think he's kind of at
You would think he'd get motivated.
I do
by
agree.
it.
Maybe if it was younger in his career, but now that he's older and more experienced, I would think it would give him a little bit of chip and he would play better. But now it ultimately comes down to if he can do it at home in Dallas.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see what happens tonight, but I think it's inevitable that Boston, by our show next week, this series, I think, will be over. How about you, Ryan?
I agree with you, Bruce.
Okay. When we come back, we're going to shift our attention to the third of the 4 majors in professional golf. It's the U.S. Open. It's at Pinehurst number 2. Mike Yeager, the head golf professional at Columbia Hills Country Club, will be joining us to preview the big event. That's next on Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. Now here is the risk that Brown had to take with Welcome back. Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. Love you. Good to have you with us, especially because it's U.S. Open week. My favorite of the 4 majors. And it's at Pinehurst number 2. The reason it's my favorite is because par is a very good score. It should be a very good score. It wasn't at the PGA, and it certainly wasn't last year in the U.S. Open at the L.A. Country Club. But I'm hoping they've learned their lesson and make par a great score, because I personally like to see pros, the best players in the world like Mike Yeager, suffer like the rest of us saps playing this game we love so much. Mike is the head golf professional at Columbia Hills Country Club, where I'm a proud member. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing well, Mr. Drennan. How are you?
I'm very excited about the U.S. Open. I can't help but be excited. I'm actually in a pool. You get to you choose a golfer from the A's, the B's, C's, D's, and E's, right? You choose a golfer from each category. And if you take Scheffler, the entrance fee is the entrance fee. If you take Scheffler, you have to pay a penalty fee to take him.
Probably pay that fee right now.
Coming off another win in Muirfield, my goodness, and that's like one of the toughest courses they play. So it's a tune-up perhaps for Scheffler that Pinehurst number 2 won't be intimidating. But Mike here played Pinehurst number 2. Tell us about this U.S. Open course.
Yeah, I played there. I was trying to figure it out as I was walking over here. I think it was about 10, 11 years ago. It was after the remodel. And it's just a different track. I mean, every green, I don't call it a tortoise shell, a cereal bowl. They're all crowned. There's nice fairways, but there's not the rough that we traditionally see in Northeast Ohio. It's all this natural area and grouse bushes. And then if you miss it even farther right or left, you end up in pine needles. It's going to be firm. It's going to be fast. And you are certainly going to get your wish with some high scores today. We're going to see folks putting off the green. We're going to see the old-fashioned Texas wedge. I think it's going to be the challenge that we were used to at the U.S. Open for sure.
Mike, I read that the course for these greatest players on the planet is risk reward. Does that mean that they're going to be tempted to make shots to enable them to get a birdie? But if they miss slightly, they're going to be in trouble?
Yeah, this golf course is firm and as fast as it is. The greens are big, but you have to aim at the meat of the green. If you start pin hunting, your chances of getting it close to the pin are so small that I don't know that reward is there. The same with off the tee. While as firm as it is, it's playing 7,550 yards. It's playing shorter than that. But if you miss these fairways, you might have an unplayable lie. Your golf ball might be in a bush. So I think you're going to see a lot of guys taking less than driver off the tee and just trying to find these greens. And like you said, maybe a couple under par, but over par would not shock me in this.
Yeah, we've had some U.S. Opens like that. What is the weather like this weekend there? Have you heard?
It looks beautiful. They're not forecasting any rain whatsoever. I've already heard the players complaining during their practice rounds of how it's borderline unplayable already. I know the USGA was putting down water last night just to soften it up a bit, but this is certainly going to be a challenge like we haven't seen in a long time.
Are you of the opinion that the only way Scheffler doesn't win is if he beats himself?
I don't know. He didn't have his A game at the Memorial. I was down there Friday, and the golf course was playing harder than I've seen it in my memory. I think maybe Augusta was harder this year. I mean, the wind was up. It was firm. I saw players laying up into bunkers. I mean, Scheffler made some bad scores, but those scores kind of just roll off him. I know they say he's fiery and everything, but, man, he doesn't look phased. I mean, it's just him against the golf course every week. And even with a player within one stroke on the back nine Sunday, he kind of had a comfortable win.
Yeah, Colin Morikawa, he has shown he's truly a great champion, and he's capable of winning majors. He's won 2, but boy, he's been teamed up a couple 3 times this year with Scheffler coming down the stretch, and he just can't match him, it seems.
No, and it's not even that he played poorly. You're going to get in some bad spots on these difficult golf courses, and somehow Scottie Scheffler has just consistently come out on top.
I'm going to be fascinated to see how Koepka plays. He has 5 majors, and they're all PGAs and U.S. Opens, so he plays these tough courses very, very well. He had a bad round in the PGA at Valhalla, but he bounced back and played respectably. Your thoughts on him in this U.S. Open?
Um, Again, he has to stay out of his own way. Like if he's trying to bang drivers and overpower the golf course, I don't think that's going to be the key to the success. I like folks that can hit the ball a little bit higher and land it softer on these firm and fast green complexes, such as a Scheffler, such as a Bryson DeChambeau with his club head speed. And I think the biggest key to winning this week is your short game, believe it or not. Someone like Cam Smith, who's one of the top putters in the world, there's going to be a ton of creativity needed around these greens just to get the ball in the hole without making a big score.
You mentioned DeChambeau. I want to ask you about him. I am fascinated as to how he's going to play. The emotion that he showed in the PGA, I'm of the belief, Mike, that had Schauffele not made the putt on 18 at Valhalla to win the PGA, and that had gone to a playoff, I think DeChambeau would have beat him. His emotion and his drive and his fist pumping with the crowd was exhilarating. I gotta think he is just anxious at the bit to play in this U.S. Open and prove he can win another major.
Yeah, I completely agree. He had the momentum. If he hadn't gotten that in, I certainly would have bet on him to finish it off. But the cool thing about Bryson is he was kind of not a fan favorite, especially because he was quirky. He went to live, and I think he's embracing that now. And I think the fans are rallying behind him. And they call him a scientist for a reason. And I think he's going to go at this golf course different than a lot of the other tour pros out there. And I'm pretty excited to see how he fares as well. I think he's going to come out near the top.
Another live guy. John Rahm won't even play. He's had to withdraw because of a bad leg or something, huh? A foot?
Yeah, he was limping around the last event for live. It sounded like he actually had a cut between his toes, which sounds painful as ever. And obviously he's walking 4 rounds of golf, and I believe it got infected. He was on the grounds at Pinehurst and then just had to pull out due to that injury.
How about Schauffele, the defending PGA champion?
He could be right there. I mean, his iron play is world class. Again, it's finding these greens that's going to be the utmost importance. If you start going left or right of your target, you have to have a good plan out there. It wouldn't shock me to see him at the top, but I'm looking for someone that can really roll the ball on the green, someone that is top of the world-class putting.
Now, here's another guy who has been there down the stretch in majors and has faltered, it seems like, on that back nine in these majors the last couple of years, and that's Viktor Hovland.
Yeah, so I remember last time we talked about the PGA, Viktor Hovland had done a swing change. He had a new coach. Over the course of the last 3 weeks, I want to say, he went back to his old coach. And you started seeing him creep up the leaderboards again. He's getting comfortable with his golf swing again. He was in contention on Sunday at the Memorial and then just had a really unfortunate finish to that round. He scares me because his putter's not his greatest club. He's had some short game issues that he had to overcome over the last few years. So for the key for him to get up on top of this scoreboard again is going to be around the greens.
You know, a lot of Americans aren't familiar with this guy, but he's one heck of a player, and he's known worldwide, and that's Ludwig Aberg.
Yeah, I love him, and everyone's going to know his name very soon. The thing about him is he's dominated in junior ranks, college ranks. He's just now getting on the tour, and he's competing with these guys without ever playing these golf courses for the most part. So a lot of these courses he's seeing for the first time, whether it's maybe getting a couple practice rounds in, but a lot of these guys that have played these courses already know all their sight lines. They know where they're aiming. Unless there's a dramatic course change, they have a certain comfort level to these courses where over the years moving forward, he's going to be scary good.
Is McIlroy ever going to win another major?
Well, did you see that he and his wife are no longer getting a divorce now? That just came out. So apparently he announced his divorce at the PGA, announces they're not getting a divorce during the U.S. Open. So maybe he's just trying to find some luck. I don't know. I would never say no, but man, he just can't get out of his own way, it seems like. And you can see it. His demeanor on the golf course. If I didn't know his score, I could look at the way he's walking around the golf course and tell you if he's in contention or not.
Well, some other guys that we may see on that leaderboard. The defending champion, of course, is Wyndham Clark. Gosh, I don't even think he made. Did he make he missed the cut at the PGA? I think he did.
Cut him a as well.
Yeah.
He's a little bit right now.
Matsuyama, Matt Fitzpatrick, Jordan Spieth, Thigala is an interesting player who's been there the last couple.
Yeah, I love his personality. He's just really upbeat, seems happy. He rallied on Sunday down at the Memorial. I always look for players, A, that have done well historically at a golf course, and B, how they're playing going into these tournaments. So if you rolled into a top 10 at the Memorial playing as difficult as that, I would keep that in the back of your mind. Um, just from a confidence level, right? He played well at that golf course. He's going to another very difficult, more difficult, honestly, golf course, and he beat 90% of the field. So I got to imagine his headspace is ready for this tournament.
Any other long shots?
I like Cam Smith. He was just beating the world when he was on the tour, and now he's on live, so we don't get to see him play very much. And when he has played over here, he consistently finishes in the top 20, but I really like his chances here based on his short game. I would say he's probably one of the best putters in the world, and this tournament's going to come down to how you control your spin on the greens, how you control your chips, your putts from off the green, and just literally making pars. And I think he doesn't spray the ball that much. I can really see him just plodding along, not making a lot of mistakes, and being there on Sunday.
Well, tomorrow it tees off at 7:40 in the morning on the front nine. This threesome is interesting. Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, and Brooks Koepka. In a major, these guys are so good and they play with each other all the time. Does it matter what the pairings are, what the threesomes are, or are they just concentrating on beating the course?
Yeah, I mean,
what's the mindset of that, Mike?
There's definitely relationships on tour, so there's probably a comfort level with playing with certain individuals. But golf's the most unique sport in the world where there's no goalie, there's no defense. It's you versus the golf course. So I think it's more so how the golf course sets up for certain players, how it suits their eyes and their comfort level on that track, really.
At 7:51 on the front nine tomorrow, Ricky Fowler, Adam Hadwin. Hadwin's an interesting player, and Phil Mickelson, who may or may not make the cut. But if he or Tiger make the cut, it's a story.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Phil snuck into a couple of these things, but at his age and the amount that he's playing right now, it seems like he's having trouble getting 4 good rounds together. I would love to see Tiger Woods make the cut. Everything you read, I don't know if it's because the writers are in love with him just like the rest of us are, but everyone's saying that Tiger, this course suits him well. He lives in Jupiter, Florida. It's going to be hot. It's going to be firm. It's going to be fast. He might not have to hit a ton of drivers. So for his body to recover, everything is setting up nicely for him. We'll see how it goes, though.
At 1:14 tomorrow on the front, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, and Scotty Scheffler. I mentioned the gallery. That's going to draw quite a bit of the gallery following them around, Mike.
Yeah, you're going to have to pop up a few holes and just kind of sit tight to see that one. Even at Memorial on Friday, I could see Scheffler coming 3 holes away from where I was sitting on 12, and they just swarmed you. We didn't even wait for him to get through. I bailed. It looked like too much chaos for me, and I can't imagine what it's going to be at a U.S. Open.
125, Wyndham Clark, the defending champion, and Brian Harman, the lefty. 136, Matsuyama, Jordan Spieth, and Jackson Sober. Then on the back nine, at 7:29 in the morning, Tiger tees off with Zalatoris and Matt Fitzpatrick. I didn't ask you about Fitzpatrick. What do you think of his chances? He's a good player.
He's a good player. He hasn't been playing his best lately. Again, going back to confidence level, I like to see these guys peaking going into these majors. Not to say that they can't catch fire on these tracks, but he's more of a statistician. I mean, if you look him up, he goes back to his junior golf, keeping his putts and fairway notes from every golf course. So he should be ready to go.
Then you've got at 7:51, Tony Finau, Ludwig Eberg, who we talked about, and Dustin Johnson. I asked you about Johnson for the PGA, and you were right. He doesn't seem, and by the way, Mike predicted Schauffele would win the PGA, and you know who did. And you said about Johnson, how motivated is he? He didn't even look like he was motivated, just going through the motions.
That's exactly what I would say as well. He's just going through the motions. He's got a family. He's playing on live. He's got all the money in the world. I just don't think his heart's in it anymore. I mean, he's still got a phenomenal world-class talent. I just don't know how sharp he is anymore. he had a couple good rounds, but then I think he shot around in the 80s. Finau's an interesting one to watch. He's coming into form. He played very well at the Memorial. His wedge game is excellent. If he gets that putter hot, he could definitely be in contention.
And then finally at 125 on the back nine tomorrow, DeChambeau, Victor Hovland, and Max Homa. That's quite a threesome too. And Homa's a guy that is a sleeper.
Heck yeah. I mean, the USGA does a very nice job with these pairings. I'm sure everyone at home is going to enjoy watching those as well as at the golf course. Homa, he's interesting. He has been playing his best golf lately, but sometimes you also notice if he's in a pairing, or any golfer, if they're in a pairing, if the other golfers are playing well, you can feed off that. You can see what they're doing and getting around the track, and you can catch fire along with those guys as well.
So is Scheffler your pick?
It's hard not to. I mean, it's starting to remind me, and I take this very seriously saying it. He's getting into some rarefied air with Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, the way he's been playing and dominating these fields. I'm not saying that everyone else is playing for second place, but if he had his B game at the Memorial, if he shows up to Pinehurst with his A game, it could be lights out.
Well, yeah, it's hard to argue any of that, Mike. My point is this about him. Yes, he's winning all these tournaments. He's won 2 majors, but they're both green jackets. He's got to prove he can win the PGA, the U.S. Open, and the British, does he not?
Yeah, I think the only knock on him right now, and especially for this golf course, is his putting. As we all know, he's gone through some struggles with his putting. That's probably the only thing that's held him back from lapping a few fields. He made that switch to the mallet putter earlier in the season and rattled off 4 wins. So his confidence with that stick is certainly getting better. For him, it's his iron play. It really is. I mean, he is the best in the world with his irons. He does not miss many iron shots. He did miss a few at Memorial coming in. The winds were swirling, and it was hard to kind of figure out that aspect of the shot. But if he's striking the ball the way we know he can, he's going to pull away from this field, I believe.
Well, when I get done recording this show here on the Big Play Sports Network, I'm heading to Columbia Hills Country Club so I can get around in, because you are not going to see me this weekend. I am glued to that television, my man.
Yes, sir. We got it all set up for you. We actually have our 3-day men's invitational, so the golf course is in pristine shape, and you'll enjoy it today.
Looking forward to it. Mike Yeager, head golf professional, Columbia Hills Country Club. Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely. I'll see you shortly.
All right. Very good. We'll be back in a minute with the Ask Bruce segment. Wrap things up here on Bonus Time with Drennan, Big Play Sports Network. Now, here is the risk that Brown had to take with.
Thank you, guys.
Great to have you back with us. Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. It just came to my attention. I was not aware as of this recording. I mentioned him earlier in the show. Jerry West, the superstar NBA player, has passed away. How old was he, Ryan?
I believe he was 86, Bruce.
86 years old. You know what? Next week, I'll do a tribute to Jerry West. He deserves high accolades, and it was just brought to my attention, and so we definitely wanted to throw that out. And next week I will do a tribute to the great Jerry West. Well, the Triple Crown of Racing is completed. The Belmont was staged at Saratoga, and Dornach was the winner. You didn't find it interesting, Ryan, that the Dornach, one of the owners, is Jason Worth, the former World Series champion with the Philadelphia Phillies. Did you know that?
I did see that. I thought that was very interesting. He came out and said horse racing is unlike any other sport. I believe it's his favorite. And just from based on this last year, I know I wasn't very into horse racing before this, but it seems like it's really gaining some traction in terms of popularity.
Yeah. Dornach finished 10th in the Derby. Mindframe, the Todd Pletcher trained horse, was second. And then Sierra Leone, who was the favorite, as well as the favorite in the Kentucky Derby, finished third. Honor Marie was fourth. Before we get to the Ask Bruce questions, I do want to mention again about the persecution that is going on in the WNBA of Caitlin Clark. Last week, I devoted some time to this after that flagrant dead ball. I don't want to say molestation, but it's not far from it. And no suspension, no fine, Hugs from her teammates after getting back to the bench. Just sickening to see this. They should be thanking this Caitlin Clark for the notoriety that she's bringing to professional women's basketball, which the vast majority of this country couldn't care less about. Now, the latest snub, she's not even named on the United States Olympic team with the upcoming games in Paris. Are you kidding me? She's not one of the greatest players in the world, let alone here. And it's absolutely sickening, the persecution. And she is conducting herself with such class, saying, oh, it would be a real honor. The team is well represented with great players. That's the way she's coming off after hearing the news of this. But boy, they named me as an alternate now, and I think they only did that to save a little face. Shame on them. Shame, shame, shame on them. I'm almost at the point I hope they lose if she's not put on that roster. What a joke. What a complete joke. They should be thanking her. You know, she got a $28 million contract from Nike, which will bring notoriety to the league. That means the rest of them benefit cash-wise. And here they're persecuting her. Screw them. All right, fire away, Ryan.
Alrighty, this one comes from our guy Andy. He says, here's a multiple choice for you, Bruce. What has been the Cleveland Guardians' biggest surprise so far? Would you say Stephen Vogt, Ben Lively, Tyler Freeman, or David Fry?
Wow, what a tough choice. Not so much Vogt. I would eliminate Vogt from there because I like the hire. He would have been hired by another team, as I've reported many times here on our show. And the best offseason acquisition, the best offseason move by the team was retaining Carl Willis, which was vitally important because he's still a rookie manager. And from the fifth inning on, you need that great pitching coach, and Willis is one of the best. So I would have to go. I think Lively has just been the most gigantic surprise because he's bounced around the majors for a while. And, of course, Freeman and Fry have supplied power that we didn't think was there. They're actually hitting with much more power than what we thought. And a lot of it is coming in two-out rallies, that big two-out clutch hit, which is the hardest hit in baseball. So I would say take your pick. I mean, it's very difficult to choose between those three. Great question.
Alrighty, well, as it stands today, the Guardians are 5.5 games ahead in first place. Bruce, do you think the Guardians, and this is a tough question, but do you think the Guardians will ever relinquish first place of the Central throughout this year?
I'll put my homer cap on and say no. I think that when Kansas City got close, it was exemplified how they toughened up and put together another streak. I just like their never say die attitude. They're young. They were peeved off they didn't make the playoffs last year. And you can see it with these guys. And I'll tell you, if this bullpen stays healthy and keeps pitching the way they are, and they keep getting these two-out clutch hits, I love the way they play the game. They run the bases. They start runners. They steal. They play real good defense. And even when they make a couple errors, they find a way to win a game. It's amazing. I just love them to death. And now I'm curious whether we'll make any moves come deadline. I really am. Gavin Williams is close to coming back. He's pitching rehab games. So I don't know if we need another starter. I mean, you can never have enough pitching, I realize, but with him coming back, and I heard Castillo too could be an addition that they could add. Do you need another bat? I guess you could always use another bat. I think they'll look and investigate. Antonetti and Chernoff will look to see what's available. But I wouldn't be shocked if they don't make any moves, especially if they maintain this nice, comfortable lead that they have earned thus far this year.
Alrighty, hey Bruce, how many Guardians do you think will be represented in this year's All-Star game? And do you think David Fry truly deserves to be a member?
I think so. I really do. Obviously, Jose, Naylor, Clase. You might be able to throw a starting pitcher in there if Bybee has another couple of good outings. He could get in, but definitely those guys for sure. Oh, and Jimenez too. I think Jimenez is a shoe-in to make it. So I think 4 for sure, maybe 5.
Alrighty, now flip to golf. Hey, Bruce, if Scottie Scheffler does win the U.S. Open, where would he rank right now amongst the PGA greats?
Well, I think that's way too early because it would be his third major. I mean, after Spieth won 3 championships as a very young man on the tour, major championships, do we put him as one of the greats of all? He hasn't won one since McIlroy won 4 when he was a very young man on the tour and won 4 major championships. Did we put him on that pedestal and compare him to Jack and Tiger? No. So I think it's way too early in Scheffler's case. Koepka's won 5. So, I mean, you know, you got Gary Player won what, 11? Tiger won 15 and Jack won 18 and Jack finished second 19 times. They're a long way from that. So we'll see, but there's no question the way he's dominating right now. He's so much fun to watch. And as Mike Yeager pointed out, his iron play is just fantastic. First of all, he's incredibly accurate with his drives. He rarely gets in trouble with his drives. But as a result of that, he hits greens like crazy. I mean, his iron play, he's always hitting greens in regulation, which gives him a chance for birdie. And at worst, a 2-putt par. He's an incredible player. His demeanor is perfect for the PGA Tour and major championships. But as I said to Mike, now it's time that he proves he can win the other 3 big ones. He's won 2 Masters. Now he's got to prove he can win the other big ones. And, of course, and I'll give him a pass on the PGA because of the distraction of the arrest. But the day he was arrested, he played great. It was the next day it kind of caught up to him mentally, and it cost him. But then he came back on Sunday and had a good closing round. But this U.S. Open is really going to be a test, and I think a telling story for the rest of us with Scheffler.
All right, this is the last one. This one actually comes from me, Bruce. I know you're a big movie guy. Me and Matt Fontana, we do a weekly bracket on our show. And this week's bracket is we're doing the best film directors of all time. Now, I'm not going to sit here and ask you to say who you think is the greatest film director, unless you want to. But if you give me maybe a top 3.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. In my opinion, the greatest director was William Wyler. He won 4 Best Director Oscars and 4 Best Pictures, including one of the greatest movies of all time, 1959, Ben-Hur with Charlton Heston and Stephen Boyd. Hugh Griffith won Best Supporting Actor. I don't think there's any question in my mind it's William Wyler. I think Spielberg is in that category. I think Robert Wise is in that category. I think Clint Eastwood. I think Clint Eastwood has to be. He's won 2 Best Pictures and 2 Best Directors, obviously with Unforgiven and then $1 Million Baby. He did Mystic River. He did. No one would have guessed that with Eastwood too, because of all the, the Italian westerns that he did, and then in the second half of his career, he turned to directing as well as acting in a lot of his films, and turned out to be one of the best. But I don't hesitate at all when I say William Wyler.
All right, that'll do it for us, Bruce.
I certainly thank you for watching. We always enjoy having you. I hope you enjoyed the show. Ryan, I don't have a guest lined up yet for next week, but I do want to pay tribute. It's brought to my attention the passing of Jerry West. We're going to pay tribute to him, one of the greatest players of all time, without question. So that is all the time we have for this week's version of Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. I'm Bruce Drennan. On behalf of Ryan Smith, you have a wonderful week. Enjoy the U.S. Open. Enjoy the Guardians on this quest to win the division and get into the postseason, and who knows, from there, anything can happen. Have a good one. See you next week. Until then, as always, and most importantly, you remember, I love you, Ohio. And I love you.